Good afternoon. I'm Penny, and this is Through Glass Eyes. This evening, we have the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Aaron. He's joining us from Oregon today, and he's going to share his story of the long haul COVID. And Mr. Aaron, I just want to thank you again for having the strength to talk to us. At any point, if you need a break, just let me know, and it's no problem at all, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Great.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Aaron, how were you prior to getting infected? What did you do for a job? What type of person were you? Can you explain a little bit about how you were previously, please?
Sure. Yeah. And I think we hear these in a lot of these stories where I was a totally different person prior to long COVID. Um, I I mean, I was a software engineer, very intense job in the like startup software world. I loved hiking. I really enjoyed hiking. And just generally had lots of energy. I bought a house that I was renovating, doing tons of projects on the house, running meetup groups, social stuff. I mean, basically an extremely full life. Maybe a little too full. Have tended to be kind of type A historically, but a very full life. Lots of energy. I never had to think about energy. That's one thing long COVID has really changed for me is that I constantly think about energy now, like what's my budget, what's my battery for the day, that sort of thing. So yeah, just very normal person. Lots of energy. I will say though, there's a sort of an important corollary to this, or a side point on this, which is that prior to my main long COVID that I have now, I believe I did have kind of a mild long COVID, like a very mild version of it from a prior infection, before the infection that gave me like my real long COVID. Um, so I would see, and I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea. Back in 2021, 2022, I had no idea. But looking back, now that I know what I know now, looking back, I would have, especially after a really stressful day at work, I would have brain fog. I just wouldn't be able to concentrate like I normally could. And then I would have like in meeting, like when I was at a meeting at work and it was a stressful meeting, I'd have to like really take a breath, in a way that was bizarre, like shortness of breath. So even though it wasn't the long COVID that I have now, I could see like little things looking back in that mild version. So that's just an important caveat.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so sorry about that. So you were infected at least one time prior to the infection that you think um, caused the damage. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I believe I've had three COVID infections. So back in kind of late February 2020, early March 2020, I was in a grocery store and there's this woman in the aisles and she was like coughing her lungs up. It was just horrendous. And I was like, oh boy, I hope I don't, I hope I don't get that. And I tried to, I didn't go down, I wasn't near her or anything, but sure enough, a day or two later, I got COVID, from that. That first infection, I recovered from pretty quickly. I mean, I felt crappy for a couple of days. I did have a lingering kind of a chest wheezing symptom for a few months afterward. But it pretty much went away. I just went back to, I'm doing my full-time work, I'm doing all that. So I didn't really think of anything of it. It's like, okay, COVID is just a thing. It's like a flu for a couple of days. Maybe you have a little bit of, wheezing, but that's about it. Then I had a second infection in August of 2021. And all three of mine, by the way, correlate with the numbers. So CDC will put out these graphs where they show the COVID numbers. And all three of my infections, you can look at the graphs and you could see it's on that upswing as a wave is starting. It's just like every single time. So in August 2021, I'd actually gotten two vaccinations prior to this, like in the early summer or whatever. But I took a train ride up to Seattle, and once again, I was in a train. I actually had a mask on. I did a lot of masking throughout the pandemic. But there's this guy sitting behind me, and again, he's coughing and coughing and sneezing, and I'm like, oh boy. And sure enough, that it was actually that evening. It came on very quickly. That evening, I just felt horrible, like I was hit by a truck. Um, but it was real similar to the 2020 infection. which is where I recovered pretty quickly. I luckily I was on vacation at the time. I was taking a week off from work. I was actually in a really nice hotel room, this really fancy hotel room, and I just like slept for 10 hours a day, and I just rested and rested. And a few days later, I was still kind of short of breath, but I felt it wasn't too bad, and pretty much got back to normal. 5 or 6, 7 days later. Um, Other than, like I say, I did mention the kind of that mild long COVID stuff that I would have, but at the time I had no idea. That was that. And then finally, I had my third infection was in late July 2023. And I think I got it from a restaurant, maybe from a grocery store. I'm not 100% sure. I had dinner with a friend the night before. Maybe that was it. I'm not sure. But again, it was during one of these wave periods where the numbers were creeping up. And, once again, just like 2020 and 2021, it felt like a flu. I felt I had like 2 or 3 days, like I felt like I had the flu. I was like, okay, whatever. I rest up a little bit. And then I kind of got back to my normal stuff. But unlike the 2020 and 2021, I didn't ever, I kept feeling bad. I didn't have the acute flu symptoms, but I kept having shortness of breath, and I kept having brain fog, and I kept having body aches. And that just persisted for weeks and weeks and weeks. So,
I'm so sorry. I know how hard that is. And I think the infection that really got me was in 2021, and I could barely walk for about 6 days. And then once I started feeling better, I had that lingering body pain that slowly, just over time, has gotten so bad that long distance walking, other than down the wheelchair ramp to get into a vehicle, I have an electric wheelchair now. Prior to the infection, I was a chemical lab technician. I was always a substitute teacher. I was on the PTO. I coached soccer for 10 years. I was always doing something. So I completely understand. So now, as you're talking about that, how are you today? What are your symptoms? And as well as talking about that, who out of all your doctors, and I'm just assuming you have a few. At one time, I think I had 20. It was really crazy. And I guess I still see them throughout the years, or I mean, throughout the year. But who is your biggest, I would say, supporter as far as your doctors? Do you have one that says, okay, you know, I'm sorry that didn't work. Let's try this. I'm here for you. Do you have one like that?
yeah. So for the first part, as far as how I am today, I've essentially been in kind of a plateau since, I would say, spring 2024. So for about a year and a half, give or take. I early on in my like my main long COVID. I didn't know what PEM was. I didn't know what post exertional malaise was. So I kept that push crash cycle that, like, I think a lot of us do, until we
Absolutely.
until we learn about it. Um, and so the first few months were really bad, especially like right after my infection. Things just kind of got worse and worse and worse from like that late July 2023 to about December, January. Um, and that's when I was at my worst. I was just kind of, I've never really been bed bound, but I was spending a lot of time in bed, and I barely leave the house, that kind of thing. But then again, I was learning about pacing. I mean, pacing is so important. And learning about pacing, and I kind of got to where I am now, just my baseline. We all have our baseline, I guess, and I've been kind of in this plateau since then. And I've had periods that are worse and periods that are better. I've had crashes since then. I've actually had crashes that last for a couple weeks. And then I have periods that are relatively good. I'll have periods where, a few days, upwards of a week, where I'm like, I can concentrate. I'm not short of breath. I'm periods that are decent. But it kind of hovers around that baseline, just a little bit worse than that, a little bit better. And I really shouldn't talk so much. I love to talk. I've always enjoyed talking, and so it's hard to like remember. I got to take a breath. but yeah, so my one of my main symptoms is shortness of breath. It's one of the really bad symptoms. And another is brain fog. Brain fog is one of my worst symptoms because I'm a software engineer. I need to concentrate. That's like a big part of who I am. Also, just um, outside of work, a lot of my hobbies involve concentration. So, you know, uh, playing chess, whatever it is, things that involve numbers and logic and stuff like that. So brain fog has really affected my life. And then the fatigue as well. This is kind of my big three symptoms is the fatigue where, when I'm in a crash, I just, I'm sure you know how it is where it's just like, I need to go sweep my floors, or I need to do my laundry, and I just can't get off the couch. Um,
Absolutely.
and I have a lot of smaller symptoms as well. A lot of just strange small symptoms. I don't know if other people you've spoken to talk about this, or if you've had this like petechia. I've had petechia on my skin, these little purple and red bumps. It's like a little hemorrhaging underneath your skin. I've never had that before in my life until long COVID. Very strange symptom. And also, I have this neuropathy thing where it's it's a really bizarre symptom where kind of in the lower right abdomen for me, it's just itchy. It's just like I've basically been itchy for like a couple of years now in this spot, and there's no rash. You can look at the skin. There's nothing there. Um, but it's just, especially when I'm in a crash, it's just itchy. It's just itchy there, and you can scratch it and it doesn't change. There's no rash. There's no you put lotion on whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just a weird little nerve thing. And then I have a one in my roof of my mouth as well. It feels like there's a hair on the roof of my mouth, and I'll get that in crashes sometimes where it's just like it just feels like there's always something on the roof of my mouth, and I think it's just the nerves are confused, like the nerves are misfiring or something. Um,
It's funny how you talk about that. Sometimes when I'm drinking or eating, the top of my mouth is like on fire. Like
ah,
it'll start burning so bad that I can't even finish eating. I don't
ah,
even know.
Interesting.
It just really started. I've had it once or twice, but recently it's been happening a lot, and it's just the weirdest thing, like this horrible pain. It's not even like a brain freeze. You know how you do that when you drink?
Hmm.
No, it's
Hmm.
just been this horrible, horrible burning. It's just really weird.
That's
And
strange.
that's on
Yeah,
the top of my mouth. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know why I didn't piece them together. I just was like, well, maybe, I don't know,
sure. And that's the thing with a lot of these symptoms. You think like it might be an allergy or it might be something else, but you're like, no, it's long COVID doing weird stuff again. Like there's just so many odd,
Absolutely.
yeah. There's so many odd things that come up. But yeah, and I'll get stuttering as well. Sometimes I'll stutter when I'm speaking. It's like I know exactly what I want to say, but my muscles in my mouth just don't want to form the words. That's a really obnoxious symptom as well. Word,
I've had that.
yeah, and word finding as well. That's part of the brain fog. Is like can't recall a certain word, can't remember how to spell a word. Um, it's just strange stuff like that. So, let me take a breath. um,
It's okay. Mr. Aaron, are you still working?
well, let me get to your the
Okay,
second
I'm
second
sorry.
part first. Yeah, no problem. So as far as the doctors, pretty disappointing experience. And I think it's very common with long COVID and with ME/CFS and with chronic Lyme and all these related conditions. Um, so when probably 4 or 5 weeks after I got that third infection, I went to my primary care doctor, and I was explaining, I'm still having these COVID type symptoms, shortness of breath and brain fog and all this. And he does the standard blood work. And he says, oh, maybe it's B12 or maybe it's this. And um, no, it's not that. I get the blood work back, and it does have some strange stuff on it. There's five markers on it that are out of range. All five of them have to do with like neutrophils and other immune system related markers. And so it's like, yeah, to me it makes sense. It's like, yeah, my body's obviously fighting something. It's weird, but I will never forget how he responded when I got that blood work back. He said, quote, the numbers are not sufficient to explain the fatigue. And that's all he said. That was a one line response from the doctor. He just said, oh, yeah, basically, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. that was what I got from that doctor. So I don't know. I kind of just blew it off. I tried to just work on it myself for a while. I eventually ended up having what seemed like a shingles reinfection or a shingles reactivation, which apparently is pretty common in long COVID. There's a lot of like viral reactivations with long COVID, Epstein-Barr virus, shingles, different things like that. So pretty common, I guess. And I had this shingles reactivation in like December of 2023, and I went into an urgent care, spoke with the doctor there, and he said, you might want to try to go. There's a long COVID clinic or a long COVID program in Oregon that you might want to check out, if nothing else, just to kind of get documented that yes, I have long COVID, that kind of thing. And so I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. He was actually pretty nice, pretty good, pretty nice doctor. I mean, he didn't have any answers, but he was a nice doctor. Um, so a couple weeks later, I did end up contacting that long COVID program, and they had like a 4 or 5 month wait, because it's just like one person, and there's a flood of demand for it. So I eventually got in there and had a few appointments there, and this was like spring 2024, and really nice lady. The woman who works there, super nice, very well intentioned, but she had no clue. I mean, she had no answers. She basically suggested a lot of palliative stuff and a lot of like just stuff I've already thought of. When I had the conversation with her, I felt like I knew a lot more than her about long COVID, because I'd spent hours and hours and hours reading, forums online. And she did, I will say, the one helpful thing, she did prescribe LDN for me, which has been helpful for some long COVID people. A lot of people have felt some help from it. And I got some help from it. It did seem to fix one of my symptoms, which was the joint pain. I had some joint body pain. I took it for about 11 months, and it seemed to help with that. But I had to stop taking it because it also for me had a side effect of feeling really amped up, like I had too much coffee, and I almost had panic attacks actually from the LDN. It was really,
Oh no.
and it's not too uncommon. I think anxiety type stuff can be. You have to be, if you ever, for anyone watching, or for you for that matter, if you ever want to try LDN, the old phrase of like start low and go slow, right? Like start really low dose. Some people will start like on a 0.1 milligram dose and just kind of ratchet up from there. So just be careful with it. But
I was too at a long haul COVID clinic. I'm in Texas, and in Houston at the time there was 4 COVID clinics, and I didn't know. I started at one that had multiple doctors. That's where my pulmonologist was, my cardiologist, and a bunch of other doctors. And when I first started going, I started going everywhere, getting tests for everything. And about 5 months ago, well, about 3 months ago, I found out that they closed 2 months prior, and nobody told me. So I called around to find out about the other 3 that were open. There's now only one open, and it has one doctor, like you just said. And 3 months ago, their next new patient appointment was in October 2026.
oh boy.
And that really upset me because, for one, nobody told me, right, that the clinic closed. And for another, I felt like it was hopeful that even, and I'm gonna come back to you. I apologize for taking over for just a second.
No.
But I felt like it was hopeful because even if they didn't know, at least there were doctors that were sitting there trying to help,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then when I found out that the clinic was closed, my pulmonologist, I reached out to him one time after I went to the emergency room for chest pain, and he responded a week later. And 2 weeks later, I went to the emergency room again, and that was about 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't responded since. So I am finding a new pulmonologist because I feel like wherever they went and nobody told me, I kind of got shuffled away. I didn't have the same attention. I didn't have, so that was very heartbreaking. And that leads me to the question, that clinic that you were going to, are they still open? Do you know of?
I have no idea. Frankly, I don't really care because I feel, in my personal opinion, and people will have different views on this, I'm sure, but in my opinion, I think those programs in those clinics kind of offer false hope, because there is no cure for long COVID right now. There just isn't.
Right.
There's a lot of research going on and stuff like that, but there's no reliable thing like take this pill and you're cured. Um,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I mean, there's probably some psychological support from these programs. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's an astute point of like just having someone listen to you, having someone believe you. You know that that's important. You know that is important. But I don't think I think they're operating under the guise of like this is a medical facility, this is a medical establishment when there is no, at least at this present time, there's no medical like fix for this condition. It's not like
Right.
you break your arm or you get cancer or you can go in, you can have your cast, you can have your chemotherapy, you can do your stuff. There's not really a reliable thing for long COVID right now. I hope there is at some point, but you know,
Absolutely. And through my research, and I find that in order for us to really understand, and like, let me back up for just a second. With the long haul COVID clinic, I think that was the main thing is they acted like they cared, and they probably did care. That's why I was so attracted to being there because I felt heard,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
now when you go outside of that and try to find doctors, you have to ask them, what do you know about long haul
yeah,
COVID? My
yeah,
new
yeah.
PCP, I asked her that, and she said nothing. I'll be honest with you. She said, but I'll learn for you.
Okay, okay, that's
And
good.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that. You were
yeah,
honest with me. We're going to learn together,
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
But I feel like we are having to do our own research to figure out a lot of this stuff. And you agree with that?
100%. I mean,
Never
I
once was I medical or anything, but we are now, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're forced to do research and you know, um, shoot, I'm spacing here. Oh
It's
yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say, I have gotten more information and more help from the stinking COVID sub, the long COVID subreddit than I've gotten from any doctor or anybody else. And you got to filter through it because there's a lot of, there's like it's the internet. So there's going to be like various theories
Right.
and things like that. So you have to be skeptical. But I learned about LDN from the subreddit. I learned about various, supplements, all that kind of stuff. So it has it forces you also with, MECFS people, same thing, or chronic Lyme people, same thing. They've been ignored, especially the MECFS people. I mean, decades that, they've been languishing. So you're forced to kind of like, okay, well, nobody's going to help me. So I got to help myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say it's because it's all new, right?
Yeah.
I think that most people are doing the best they can. Most doctors are doing the best they can under the situation. I don't envy them at all, especially with something like this. I will say that there's a doctor that I've been following on Facebook that he's picking apart symptoms. And I think that's really cool. And that's what he's saying is that we have to look at each symptoms separate and then um, fix those or my brain just went to just work on each thing separate, and that's interesting to know too. I i i want to ask you, do you notice that the foods you eat affect how you feel too with those crashes?
That's a really interesting question. And for me, um, no, basically. So I know, I'm sure you've done the same thing. You're on the long COVID forums online, and there are a lot of people. I don't know what the percentage is, 30%, 20%. I don't know, but there's that MCAS, the MCAS, and it seems as if there are several subtypes of long COVID. There's like different variants of long COVID, and one of those subtypes is that MCAS style, where it's like, gosh, I can no longer eat eggplants or I can no longer eat this thing because I just feel really bad after I eat certain foods. Um, I'm very fortunate that's not the case for me. I can eat very high histamine foods like a tomato sauce or something, have no problem. So I'm very lucky that I don't have to eat, I don't have to restrict my foods like that. But I know it does for some people. There are, again, I don't, it's like 30%. I don't know what the percentage is. But there are some people who it's like, gosh, once I cut out certain foods, I felt a lot better. So, yeah.
I did notice that some of the spices that are used, or even if I eat a lot of processed foods, that really has something to do with the crash. So I've had to come back and change the spices. Sometimes I eat bland just to, get through. But I had a bout of vomiting for over a year. It started off once in a while, then it became weekly, and then it became daily, and then it became to where I couldn't keep anything down. And about a month ago, I don't know what happened that changed where I just couldn't eat, period. And then it was like my brain didn't even want me to eat. And then at that first time I was in a hospital with chest pain, I told you that the pulmonologist, he actually sent over some steroids, and I ate like crazy for a week,
Mm-hmm.
and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to eat a little bit. And I'm not
Okay.
saying crazy, like I eat a little bit at a time, but it was multiple times throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm back to at least being able to keep food down. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what
Mm-hmm.
happened there. It was really crazy.
Wow. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of hard. So I apologize. You were talking about pacing. Okay. I did a pacing study down here. Did they offer something like that in your area, or was it something that you just learned for yourself?
Well, yes, they offered me something, but they offered me something that I think was not only not helpful, but I think was probably actively harmful. Um, I'm sure you in your research, I'm sure you've probably heard like graded exercise therapy or those kinds of things where they're like, okay, well, we just need you to exercise a little bit more each week or whatever. That is now a very much a rejected idea in the long COVID space, and MECFS as well. Um, you don't want to push, you don't ever want to push yourself, you don't ever want to
Ever.
do that kind of thing. You need to, the number one thing is listen to your body, listen to your symptoms. And if you don't, if you're getting chest tightness, you're getting racing heart, you're getting stuff like, don't force yourself to exercise, don't do that. Really listen to what your body wants to do. Um, and so, yeah, they offer at this long COVID program, they wanted to get me into a physical rehabilitation, or a physical therapy program. And I was asking her, like, why? What's the point? Like, what do you hope to accomplish? And she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. Also, they offered speech therapy, as if and I asked her about that, and she's like, well, we've noticed that a lot of long COVID people, it's very similar to like traumatic brain injury, like a organic brain injury. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I mean the similar symptoms, but it's not the same root cause. It's not. I don't need to like practice my words, or it's silly. It's a silly recommendation, and I think they're just kind of throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks a lot of times. So yeah, for pacing, it's really I certainly don't believe in something like a physical therapy kind of regimen, at least for myself personally. For me, it's all about like, one thing that's been really helpful is I got a Fitbit, and that can tell me, okay, what is my, well, like right now, my heart rate is 100 beats a minute as I'm talking, which is obviously not normal. So
Right.
I can tell what's my current heart rate. Um, Also, overnight, it'll tell me what's my HRV when I sleep, what's my resting heart rate when I sleep. So it can tell me what's my stress level. This thing has been really awesome. So one thing you can do, I don't know if you've heard about this, or if your viewers have.
I have one.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's great. It's a really great tool. So one thing you can do, and you may have heard of this already, where you take 220 and you subtract your age, um, and then you multiply by like points, like by 60%, or 55% or 50%, or whatever your number is. Um, so you kind of find this heart rate above which you try not to go, right? So for me, I think it's like I don't want to go above like 105 or something like that. I try to stay at about 60% of my age adjusted maximum heart rate. And what this does is it kind of just it's not going to totally prevent crashes, but it kind of helps keep you out of that danger zone, that anaerobic threshold danger zone. So it's just been great. So like if I go out, I do take some short walks around the neighborhood, and like I'll glance at my Fitbit and listen, oh gosh, it's 109 beats a minute. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second, let my heart rate calm down, and it really helps. Like if you can avoid being in that really high heart rate zone too often, it will help prevent crashes. It won't prevent all crashes, because some crashes are caused by cognitive exertion as well. I mean, I've had crashes from playing a game of chess, like, but
Right.
but it will help, and especially if you've got chores. Like when I do vacuuming, that really sets me off sometimes. So like when I'm vacuuming, like, oh, look at my Fitbit. Oh, okay, it's 110. Okay, let's stop for a second, and then we'll continue when the heart rate is down.
You know, you just taught me something. I'm going to pay more attention to that. I know that my heart rate goes up. I will tell you, I have a pacemaker because I had a stroke. COVID had taken my heart rate down to 50, and at night it was going into the 20s, and I didn't know. So I had a stroke. So now I have a pacemaker, so that keeps my heart above 60. But we have noticed multiple, and there I have medicine for that because of the spikes. The medicine's not helping. It doesn't keep it from happening. Since we've been talking, or when we're talking, as well as you, I looked down at my heart rate and it was at 102 while I'm talking.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
isn't it's just crazy how that happens just from
yeah.
talking.
It's wild. Yeah, I'm getting up to at least 104, and it's not something's wrong with our bodies. Clearly, like this is not normal.
Not normal.
you know?
Right. So when you were growing up, I'm sure you heard just like I did, when you get sick, you keep going, you feel better. And it worked, right? When we were growing up. Do you get those reactions from people today? Like for the longest time, even today, I still hear, well, if you go for a walk, you'll feel better. And I'm like, I wish that was the case because I would be walking every single
Yep.
day.
Oh yeah.
The unfortunate part is that's not the case.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you have people telling you that stuff too?
Yeah, I mean it's one of the, and I'm sure you found similar, where one of the hardest things with this illness is people just don't get it. They just don't understand. Their minds, we're used to, like you say, we're used to acute illness. Like you get the flu, you rest, you're better. They're not used to chronic illness. And so I had a couple experiences like that, like what you're talking about. So I had a friend of mine. A few months after I started having my long COVID, and I was talking to him, and I was telling him like, oh yeah, my heart is racing, and all these different things are happening, and he says, well, you don't look sick, and I'm like, it was like, and I don't think he meant it to be a jerk or anything, but it was like one of the most horrible things you could possibly say to someone who has a chronic illness. You don't look sick. Like, yeah, well, I know I don't. It's an invisible illness, but I am sick. I am sick. And then there's another time I was on chatting with like an old coworker, and he said like, well, oh yeah, oh long COVID, yeah, I had some of that. I had some long COVID type stuff. I found that I just started taking walks and getting out for walks, and I felt a lot better. I'm like, okay, I mean, you may have had some mild form of things, but you don't have what I have. You may have had just a really mild version. So.
Absolutely. What about your family? How does your family treat you? Do they treat you the same? Are they supportive?
Well, I don't have a whole lot of family to rely on, just because of my life history. But as far as friends and things like that, I mean, it's a variety. It's a kind of a spectrum. I mean, there's some people are just clueless, and some people like that guy I was talking about, just had no idea of what it's like to live with the illness. Um, and then there's some people who are kind of trying to understand, and they're kind of like, they're at least being polite about it, and they're not like overly ignorant. I guess
Right.
they might read an occasional article about it or something like that. And then I do have one friend. I'm so thankful for this one in-person friend that I do have, who she doesn't have long COVID, but she has a less common medical condition, kind of an unusual medical condition that also is an invisible condition. And so when I told her my story about what I've been going through, she's like, oh, she knew a lot of the same feelings, as far as like, people don't understand, people don't believe you, and stuff like that. So she's been really helpful for that.
That definitely makes a big difference because, as you know from reading on Reddit, people are lost. People are wanting to lose or end their lives because of this. And they just looking for somebody to talk to or something. So that's why I started this. But I did start a Zoom meeting prior to it, and I run it on Tuesday nights for people just to come in and talk to each other. So I did start that, and then I had a wonderful counselor. I still have her actually. I didn't want to say had, that suggested that I go on Reddit. I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest. I've always worked all the time. I don't keep up with everything, you know. And I went on there and I'm reading all the stories and the devastation. And I'm like, dang, that's how I felt. Or, my lowest point was this past June where a cat saved my life. It was a stray that it was a kitten, and they caught her and was looking for a home for her. And she's really what saved my life is just having that
Hmm.
companion.
Yeah.
And I'm truly blessed by that. But not everybody even has that. Or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, um, other than that, my friends don't understand. They just see I don't show up anymore. I had to learn how to say I'll try, versus, yeah, I'll do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when those answers change like that, it's like you kind of get forgotten in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of us is we have to seclude ourselves, because we don't want to get sick again or whatever the reason is. Or in my case, I don't feel the same, but I'm going to get back there, of course. We all are going to get through this together. But just having those people to talk to is very important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have somebody like that because it really, like I said, makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the long COVID forum on Reddit has been really good, and you really it's just one of those rare spaces in the entire world where they know they know what you're going through. It's
Right.
just where 99% of people don't have any clue. And I wanted to I was kind of thinking as you were talking about one of the hardest things for me has been as far as like emotional devastation like for me it's been around career and around money and around title and around self-esteem and things like that. So I have not been able to work full time in over 2 years now. I'm very very fortunate. I did find a freelance opportunity that has a flexible schedule. That's been
Oh,
amazing.
good.
That's been really really nice. But yeah, I mean, I've had to like turn down. I've had like former I like I had a former manager some months back who a guy I loved working with. I worked with him at a previous job, and he's like, hey, we've got this opening at this place, and I had to tell him like, I'd love to, but my health is just I can't do it right now, and and just a lot of fear around the future. I mean, I do have some savings. I socked away some money in my prior career, but the money's going to run out at a certain point, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to be homeless when that money runs out. Um, so I'm terrified. I mean, I'll get these pangs of fear every once in a while, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know what I'm. Yeah, I mean, and especially in the U.S. I mean, the U.S. in particular, compared to certain other countries, I think just doesn't have the social safety nets that it should. So you know, anyway, it's been really hard. Things around I've wrestled a lot. I'm sure you have as well. We all wrestle with issues around identity. And like I'm not the same. I'm used to being this software engineer and I make a bunch of money and I do all these things and I can't do that right now. And yeah, it's hard. It's really really hard.
The job that I was blessed with, I actually, except for when I'm training, my schedule is pretty good too. So they all know the circumstances, my boss and the other managers that I work with. And sometimes I have to take a 2 hour nap for lunch to make it through the day, or sometimes, I have to take another break. But the thing is that I'm still there trying to do the work, and they understand that, and that's the best part. Um, I will tell you with the brain fog, I don't get it a lot, but I don't know if it's just me just thinking this is working, but it seems to be working. And it's hard to talk to you and understand. And I thought it was working, but listening to you, it may not be a thing. But for me, I feel like to keep the brain fog away, I play challenging games. I keep challenging. Even outside of work, the days that I'm bad is when I have the brain fog. But the days that I'm okay to work and stuff, I just try to keep challenging my brain. I feel like the more I challenge my brain, the easier things are. And then by the end of the day, like if it's a work day and I worked 8 hours, the crash after that from the constant challenge to keep it focused sometimes is a hard crash.
Mhm, mhm.
But I feel like if I am having a good day and I keep challenging, like play these little games that challenges you, it kind of helps with that a little bit. But in your case, it doesn't sound because you have a
No.
very challenging job. That's very,
Well,
I went to school for network engineering, so I understand how challenging that is, but that's not the case in your case,
well,
right?
for me at least, just speaking for myself, it's the complete opposite. I mean, if all I had to do was challenge my brain, I mean, I love to do that. That's what I normally do, but I pay for it when I do that. I mean, if I play a difficult video game too much, if I play too much chess, if I do too much programming, and I love programming. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world. But a few days ago, last week, I was doing some programming for my freelance job, and yeah, I caused a crash. So for me, the cognitive stuff is will hit me just as hard as the physical. I mean, a couple hours of concentration could be just as bad as a hike. I mean, I have to be careful. So I have to pace on the cognitive stuff as well. Now maybe people are different. It sounds like maybe your body is different in that regard, which is good. I mean, that's great. But I know I really have to pace myself, and which is hard because again, the things that I love to do are the things that involve intense concentration. I love math, I love science, I love programming, I love all
Oh,
that
me
stuff.
too.
But I cannot do it to the extent that I used to be able to do it. I've got probably about 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours a day at most to be able to do that stuff. So
I think what helps me with my job is because I do audits too, so I can listen for a while. When I start getting tired, I'll just switch gears and go to audits to where I just have to listen to what they're doing and I don't have to focus or, because I pay people and stuff like that. So I have to be very, very careful with all of that. And I guess that maybe I'm just learning how to pace myself in a different way and didn't
yeah,
realize it,
I think I think so. I think you just accidentally were doing a really good form of pacing. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
But it was good. I did do a pacing study and they taught about pacing, and I thought that was very cool because I didn't think about that either. I just knew that when I did certain things, I would get really sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. Aaron, um, what would be your biggest advice that you would give other people going through this? And the reason I'm asking this because I know you're getting tired. I know your time is getting close. So I just want to we can always talk again at any point if you have something new, but I don't want to keep you longer than your time frame. So what would
Mhm.
be the biggest advice that you would give somebody else fighting this?
Sure. I mean, I'm sure like you and like everyone, I've spent hours and hours and hours doing research and trying things out, lots of experiments. I I'll just kind of I'll go through some things that did not help me first, and then I'll go through the the much more interesting list of what helped me. So things that didn't help me, fasting. I felt fasting was really hard on my body. I've tried two different types of
Mhm.
fasting. Vitamin C, I increased my vitamin C, didn't seem to do anything. H2 and H1 and H2 histamine blockers, which did absolutely nothing for me. But this is related to the MCAS stuff that we talked about, where some people just respond to that and some don't. Um, Getting a vaccine shot, I'd had four COVID vaccines before long COVID. I had one when I had long COVID, a few months into long COVID. It's interesting. I felt better for about 2 weeks, and then that effect went away. So it seemed to maybe jog my immune system a little bit, but then it didn't last. Uh, Another thing that was not helpful, that I think a lot of people fall into, is like obsessing about my symptoms. Logging my symptoms, like if journaling and charts and all that kind of stuff. I think maybe some people. Again, I'm just speaking for myself. Some people might find that helpful. I know some people like that. There's that Visible app that some people use. It's a mobile app. But for me, like I just, I mean, I pay attention to my symptoms. Like I'm mindful of how my body feels, but I don't. like I'm not going to say like, okay, Tuesday I had a bad headache and Wednesday my headache was slightly, that to me is just extra work. So I'm not going to do
Right.
that. Um, and then also I will say, um, another thing that I don't think is a cure or anything like that is kind of the brain retraining space, all the brain retraining stuff. There's a lot of and this is a very controversial topic, you know. Some people swear by it. You know, some people say, "Oh gosh, you know, I did this brain retraining program and it really helped me." Um, I don't feel that way. I don't think I think nervous system work is very important, but I don't think nervous system work can fix mitochondrial dysfunction or viral persistence or microclots or deep dysautonomia. Um, just personally. That said, now I'll get into my. Let me take a breath.
Oh, yes, please.
I just like I say, I love to talk, so it's hard.
It's very
Um,
hard. Absolutely.
but I will say, starting with my list of things that have helped, and continuing with the nervous system stuff, um, I do think that nervous system work does help. I do think it helps to some degree. So I've like three things that I do. I do 4-7-8 breathing. This is kind of structured breathing. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, you breathe out for 8. That's very helpful. I do deep humming. This is a really good one. So I do like a low frequency humming where it's literally just close your mouth and you make this deep frequency hum in your chest and your throat. And it really helps me calm down. It really, really helps my system calm down. And then also, as silly as it sounds, like just rocking, like rocking back and forth. I mean, you know, little children will do this. Just intuitively, little children will rock. It's very soothing for the body. So that's something that you can do as well. Um, and let's see here, other things. Oh, focusing on the present moment, focusing on today, focusing on the present moment. When I think about the future, when I'm terrified of the future or when I'm regretting the past, that just makes me feel worse. So really trying to focus on each, like just, okay, what am I going to do to, okay, tomorrow, or, you know, yesterday was this, tomorrow, I have no idea. What am I going to do today? Okay, I'm going to lay out my plan. You know, I'm going to pace myself. Okay, I'm going to take this item off my calendar. I'm going to, or maybe I'll take a hot shower. I'll do whatever. Focusing on what I can do today is really, really important for mindset. Because this thing is like, as you know, you know, even better than, I guess you've had it longer than I have. You know better than I do. This is a long haul. This is a marathon. This is a marathon. So focus
Absolutely.
on each day.
Now, you said something about a shower. How hard is that to do?
Oh, I mean, I like a hot shower. I mean, no,
Hot
showers.
too? Hot too?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, I cannot even touch hot water.
Oh,
Hot
interesting.
water is, yeah, just the steam from a hot
Yeah,
shower. Like, because you have
yeah,
to turn on the hot water to get it to the right temperature.
yeah.
I can't do hot water. It is cold water in the shower. Not
Okay,
cold like ice cold. It's
okay.
barely warm. So
Yeah.
I'm really impressed that you can do hot water. I would love to have
Well,
a hot shower.
it's just so individual, and I've seen other people that same the hot showers wipe them out. I've seen that on the
Yeah.
forums as well. I guess I'm lucky. I really, the hot shower just relaxes my muscles. Actually, that reminded me of another thing I really wanted to work, which is the cold water therapy. You know, I know some people swear by that. You know, the cold immersion, cryotherapy, all that kind of stuff. I tried it a few times because I really did want it to work, and prior to my long COVID, I used to do cold showers, and they used to help me feel more energized. But boy, they would set off my PEM. They don't. Yeah, they're not good to do for me right now. So
So you're having the cold water issue where I have it for the hot water. Isn't that
sure.
interesting?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, we're all very different.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I do have. Do you have time? I have a few more
Oh,
things.
absolutely. I'm
Okay.
good. I don't want to overdo you. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm good. I can do, I think I can finish this up in a few more minutes.
Okay.
Because I've done,
Absolutely.
I mean, and I've tried so many things. I've just done so much research, and like, I think it's important for people, not that I mean, not that I'm not presenting myself as an expert. This is just kind of stuff that's worked for me. But I think it's good to share what helps us.
Absolutely. And I
So
appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. So another thing is real energy versus false energy. So one thing that I've noticed, is that so some people, with stress hormones, with cortisol, with adrenaline, you can feel like you have energy even when you don't. So there's times where maybe it's I get into an argument with someone, or I'm talking about something at work, or there's times where because of the cortisol, because of the adrenaline, it'll mask your fatigue. It will be like, oh gosh, I actually feel good. You might actually even feel sharper than normal. But guess what? A few hours later, a day or two later, you're going to have the crash. So really distinguishing between real energy and false energy. So for me, real energy, it feels calm, it feels smooth, it feels natural. Like it's real energy is when I wake up in the morning and I don't feel heavy in bed, when I don't feel tense, when I don't feel like my heart is racing. The false energy, that's all the classic fight or flight stuff, racing heart, tense muscles, that kind of stuff. So making that distinction is really important, because then you won't get into this state where like you're in that false energy state and you end up doing a million things and paying for it later. So that's really important as well. I've done a lot of, I mean, like I'm sure we all do. I've done a lot of looking into supplements and vitamins and all this stuff. Um, Most of it, I think, has not been very helpful for me personally. And this is going to be very individual. But for me personally, creatine has helped. I'll do 5 grams of creatine in a big glass of water every morning. Um, Also, taurine as well. Taurine really helped my REM sleep. I can actually, because of the Fitbit, I have proof, I have numbers that show that my REM sleep dramatically increased once I started taking taurine. Um, but again, this is very individual. This might just be on my own dietary or individual, case. And okay, I just have a couple more, I swear.
You're fine. You're good.
So
Don't worry
so
about me.
so another thing that's been really helpful is I read this. There's this book by Alex Howard called Decode Your Fatigue. It's a pretty good book. I would take it with a grain of salt because some of the stuff in it is a little pseudoscientific, but there's some things that are really helpful. And so I would recommend, if nothing else, if people end up reading that book, there's an entire chapter on personality and fatigue. And it's not what you think. It's not like a gaslighting thing where it's like, oh, it's psychosomatic. It's a chapter where he talks about personality styles that are energy depleting. So we're talking about stuff like perfectionism, people pleasing, anxiety, these personality habits that will lead you to spending a lot more energy than you need to. Um, and so when I read that chapter in that book, it just blew my mind, because I realized that, gosh, my perfectionism and some of my people pleasing habits were really just kicking the crap out of me in terms of energy. And so it's not an overnight fix. I've actually been kind of working on it for several months now, but I'll put different reminders to myself, like, hey, if like when I send an email to someone, you know, I don't need to spend 3 or 4 revisions editing that email. Just one quick pass is fine, stuff like that, and also the people pleasing element, especially with a chronic illness. Like, you need to learn to tell people no. You need to say, like, hey, I can't do this, or I'm not able to, we need to reschedule, or whatever. Really important to not do your people pleasing habits, because your battery, your energy is limited. So, like I say, it's called Decode Your Fatigue by Alex Howard. Pretty good book. I do think it has some silly stuff in it, but it also does have some really interesting, some ideas in it. And along the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. When you're talking about those emails, I was that person too. And over this past summer, I learned Copilot. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you, that helps me so much with that brain issue when it comes to writing those emails, because I'll start writing and I'm like, okay, I know before I even start writing an email, I'll write down my key points because I know I'll forget it by the time, I figure out what I'm going to write. And then I learned about Copilot and I was like, okay, let's give this a try. Now all my emails go
Mm-hmm,
through Copilot.
mm-hmm,
I'll
mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm.
put the basics of what I need and they make it. And I'm so grateful. I'm really scared of that. I'm not scared of AI. I'm concerned AI taking over our jobs, of
Sure.
course,
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
but I'm really grateful. for that app to be able to do that, because otherwise I think I'd have problems writing emails right now.
Yeah, for
Most
sure.
definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have a very interesting relationship with AI because so I'm a software engineer, as I said, and one of the first professions they're trying to replace with AI is software engineering. So I may not have a profession at a certain point. Also, my freelance job, I work as an AI model trainer. That's what I do. Like I work to improve the AI models, especially with producing code. That's the main thing I help them with. Um, uh, and then in my personal life, I do use it just like you do. I use it to help me with tasks like like a home repair, or like, hey, how do I fix this thing in my house? It's really helpful, but it's also like kind of scary. Like
Right.
it's a very mixed bag. I have a very complicated relationship with AI. So
Me too, because I love that I can just say, hey, how do I do this? And it tells me,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it takes away that personalization, but they've already started taking away. There's so much. I am blessed that our company, we still have real live people that answer the phones and take the phone calls. But as of this year, we have AI making decisions on claims. And I'm like, holy crap, we went from
uh,
having 40 people to work claims to 13.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
oh, that is very, very scary. I'm
yeah,
excited though that you get to work with that. I mean,
hmm,
it's a double-edged sword, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
exciting to be able to work with that technology and create that technology.
hmm,
You know, at the same time, we all know that though it's exciting and stuff, it is taking over jobs. And what are we going to do with these people that they're taking over
yeah,
the jobs?
yeah, yeah.
I know that's a whole different story. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but
it's I could actually talk about that topic for hours. It's a really complicated story for sure. I mean, there's some real benefits, but there are some real risks from it as well. Yeah, definitely. So I just have three more things, if you will humor me.
no problem.
Okay, so another one is being okay with guilt-free rest and relaxation. So, and this is kind of similar to like the type A and the perfectionism and these kind of things. Um, I see this in a lot of people's stories on the online forum where like they 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 feel guilty for taking time off. They feel guilty for resting. They feel guilty for not helping a family member with something. So, but if you can allow yourself to do more guilt-free rest and relaxation, that is really important because I will tell you on the days when I feel good, when the days when I almost feel like myself, my old self, guess when those days are. They're after the day when I did a guilt-free rest and relaxation. Like almost every time. If I really allow myself to rest and relax, I feel so much better. So that's really important.
That took me a long time to figure out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it does, especially when you have it's like a personality thing, or when you're historically a certain way. It's hard to unlearn certain habits, definitely. Um,
Absolutely.
and just two more things. One is reducing news and social media consumption. And we've definitely been talking, and I know you have found the online spaces really helpful too, and I have as well. Um, but reducing. I just really severely cut down on my news intake these days because it is so depressing and is so infuriating, and it makes you feel helpless and scared and all this. And these are the kinds of things that long COVID already makes me feel. So cutting down your news consumption, like just if you spend an hour a day right now, just do a 5 minute check-in or something, just really cut way down, or even cut it out, or even just cut it out completely, because the news just really does not help you very much.
I've already cut it out. Yeah. I
Yeah.
cut it out over a year ago. And as you say that, that's funny. Do you notice that maybe some of the TV shows that you watch, do they affect your mood and stuff?
That's a good question. I do think I do have to be a little bit more careful with certain kinds of media, um, stories or movies that involve a lot of, death and destruction and stuff like that. I do have to. I mean, I still will consume like dark stories, but I am more mindful of that now. Definitely, you don't want to just spend all your time in that kind of space, I think.
I feel that and that's what me and my daughter were talking about. She's like, Mom, you watch a lot of Hallmark movies. Because I used to love action movies. Never been a big fan of scary movies, but I'll watch them with my kids and stuff. But anymore, it's got to be nice and peaceful. I will watch a football game, and I don't usually have problems from that. But oh my goodness, somebody being killed. I never had these reactions before. And it's like, it's almost like it's somebody I know that's what's happening,
Hmm.
when I
Hmm.
see
Hmm.
it or watch it on TV. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd have that reaction just from a TV show. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And my final thing, if anybody's still watching and you've made it this far, there's one more thing, which is and it's kind of related to the media consumption, which is the long COVID spaces, the on long COVID online spaces. I think they are helpful. You can pick up some tips, but you don't want to spend all your time on those because there's some really, really depressing stories on these forums. I mean, people who are just like, suicidal and all this kind of stuff, and it's valid. Like I know
absolutely.
I know those feelings, but just reading too many of the stories and feeling like everything's bleak and hopeless, it starts to affect your physical health too after a while. If you're constantly reading stories about people losing their jobs or people going homeless or people, like it's gonna freak you out, and it's not gonna
Absolutely.
feel good. So one thing I recommend, if people, because you want information, but you also don't want to just freak yourself out all the time. What I've started doing is I do once a month, just like once a month I will check in, and especially on Reddit. Like Reddit has this nice feature where there's a little drop down box up in the upper left where there's like you can do by most popular or newest or whatever. So you sort the thread. You go to like a long COVID forum on Reddit, and you sort it by like top. It's like the top posts, and set it for like 1 month, and then just check in once a month. Like what are the biggest, like most important ones people have posted within the last month, and that way you're not going to miss anything. So that's I think that's a fear that some people have, is like, oh, I'm going to miss some research, or I'm going to miss some discovery. So that way you can kind of like, okay, just once a month I'm going to check in and I'm going to see, is there anything like, oh my gosh, scientists discovered XYZ, or so and so, some forum member discovered that a certain vitamin was really helpful. Like you'll still get that stuff, but you don't need to, because I don't know if you've done this. I know some people will do this. I've certainly done this, where you would just spend an hour or two a day on these forums, and it's just it's just really bleak.
The rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly. Or another thing people will do, is they will kind of like try to they think that if they read enough about other people's symptoms and other people's vitamins and other people's whatever, that they'll find some kind of magic answer. I've certainly had
Right.
that a lot, right? It's like, well, if I just read 5 hours of Reddit posts about vitamins, then I will find like the magic vitamin, and it's not true. So you want to be careful there.
Right. Absolutely. And realize too that, and this isn't speaking to you, it's speaking out to anybody else listening, to be careful what you take and put into your body too. Just because, somebody else says it works may not necessarily, work for you. And listen to your body. If you take something new and it's making it worse, stop taking it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love to say that we need to reach out to our doctors first, but obviously at this point, it's still a big learning curve for everybody, and we're having to try it on ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just want people to be careful with that
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
um, it can be harmful too. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that to you. We have to
No.
figure this out, and it's just doing it smart, really,
Yeah.
and just
Absolutely.
figuring it out.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I just take small doses. We like start slow on things. And supplements are not always very well regulated, so you want to make sure you're getting from a good brand. And yeah, for sure, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll kind of get a gist of what people experience with some of the, like with a given supplement, and if there's like 50-50 kind of negative stories, I'm like, I don't know. I'll probably pause on. I'll probably not try that one just yet. Maybe I'll try that one in the future. Like so.
Right, absolutely. I was messing with my daughter. She's packing to leave. So I was taking her stuff. I'm sorry. I was just messing with her while we were talking. But this is my middle daughter. She moved home to help take care of me. So um, that's been truly a blessing
Yeah.
because not everybody even has that as a
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do have a wonderful, wonderful man that moved in to help me, and he takes good care of me. And now we have two, so that'll
That's
be
great.
extremely helpful.
Yeah. That's great.
But it's all so interesting. I've been writing down what works for you, and I wrote down the book, and I really definitely want to read that book and um, go over some other things that you had suggested because it does. I mean, just the exertion, and I didn't realize there was good energy, bad energy, so that's good to know. So I'll do some more research on that and make sure that I'm not overdoing
Hmm.
it there because that could be. I do know when I get upset when somebody hurts my feelings, that causes a big crash.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to get that under control, but it seems like even with the long, I don't have control anymore. It seems like
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
emotions, I just asked for a little bit stronger anxiety medicine. I don't know if it's helping or it wasn't helping before, and I'm willing to try that to see if I can get when that happens to get it to calm down.
Hmm.
But so far, that's not working. The anxiety is getting worse, and I have
Hmm.
it, and it's a fight to try to keep all that under control,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
and it's very hard.
Yeah.
Um, but thumbs up for you finding stuff that is helping. I'm not saying fixing or anything like
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
you're figuring out what's working better for
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's very important.
For sure. And well, two things. One, I have the same issue, and I think a lot of people have this issue of um, you're not able to control your emotions as much as you used to be able to, and especially like, yeah, you lose your temper, you're more irritable. I've noticed a really big problem with irritability. And it's not that we're bad people. It's just it takes a lot of energy. Emotional regulation takes a lot of energy. It turns out, it really does.
Right.
Um, and then the other thing, and I'm almost gonna space out. No, don't space out. Well, I think what I was gonna say is that on the real energy versus false energy thing, that is something that Alex Howard talks about in his book. So you don't have to. It's all in that book.
Okay.
So yeah,
Awesome.
it's one. I think it's like an entire chapter in that book. So it really does have a lot of good stuff in it. It's by no means a cure. Even the people he talks about in the book, I mean, they take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to recover, but it has some really good ideas. It also has some pretty good dietary stuff as well. So it's good book, and it's like I think I bought it for like $12 on Amazon or something. It's a ridiculously cheap for the amount of information in it. So
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to look that one up. There was another one somebody suggested. I got to go back up a couple pages that um, they said is really helpful too, as far as helping to help the anxiety, trying to figure out ways to help that. And I'm interested in reading that too. The problem is reading is a big problem with me right now. I just, as soon as I open something to start reading, it's like my brain just goes blank and that's it. I'm having that problem focusing reading stuff.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And because I used to be an avid reader, I was reading
Oh
all
yeah.
the time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
This illness is so bizarre. Like one thing when I was younger, when I was in college, I actually wrote for a newspaper when I was in college. I got promoted to being an editor at the newspaper. Like I'm someone who's is very good with words, very good with spelling and grammar and all these things. And one of my symptoms with long COVID is I don't remember how to spell common words, or I don't, or like I'll look at a word. It's almost like a dyslexia thing where like I'll look at a word and I'm like, does that look right? Which is totally bizarre because I love to read, I love to write, and it's just not. I'm not my. I don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm just not myself.
Right. There was, I don't remember what the word was now, but it was a simple word yesterday that I was like, how do you spell this? And my daughter's like, what? You're always the one,
Yeah,
that helps
yeah,
us.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, it's very difficult. And I'm the math, science, English person too. So that makes it even worse because I want to figure things out. I want to read. I want to learn. And it's like, it's just not coming. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
working. My brain
Yeah.
doesn't, it's saying, hold on.
Yeah.
And then I do exhaust myself or and most of the time when I go on Reddit, I want to read everybody's stories and I'll start reading it. And I'm like, okay, I need to just send them a message because I want to
Mhm.
hear their story in
Yeah.
person. Not
Yeah.
that I don't want to read it.
Right.
It's just, it's more exhausting to read the whole paragraph than to
For sure.
say, hey, can you come on and talk to us? Let us
Definitely.
know what's going on.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah.
That's
Also, on the AI piece, something that, one thing the AI models are really good at, it's summarization. And so sometimes, like, if you encounter one of these big posts on the long COVID subreddit, and it's like, and it looks like it's really interesting, and it's like something you want to check out, but it's like 5 pages long. Paste it into one of the AI models and say, hey, give me the highlights, give me the summary. And it does a pretty good job. So you can kind of get the gist of it. And it's really going to help. I mean, if you're not able to focus, then that can really help.
That's interesting. Thank you so
Yeah.
much because I
Yeah.
never would have thought of that. Never.
It's one of the things
And
they're
I'm writing
best.
it
Yeah.
down under.
Yeah, one of the things those tools are best at is summarization. So it can be great. And then if you do, another thing is you can follow up with them. You can say like, oh, hey, on this one point, like you gave me 5 points. Okay, and on point number 4, can you expand on that a little bit? And so if you do want some detail, it can give you some detail. So
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you so much. See,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
learning from you just as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what I love about talking to everybody is everybody's given me different ideas of
Yeah,
different ways to doing that research. So if you're doing it for me, I know that you're helping other people too. And that's the main thing is we definitely want to help other people get through this, understand it with the least impact without them feeling like this is going to be the end
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's the last thing we want anybody to do is make it the end.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, we got to keep
it's so
fighting.
devastating.
Yeah, we have to keep fighting. I mean, we can't, you just have to, cannot give up. You have to keep fighting. I mean, just take it day by, I mean, for me, it's just take it day by day, one day at a time. What's one thing I can do today that's helpful? Okay, today I'm going to do some breath work. Today I'm going to do half of my work day because I'm feeling exhausted. What's one thing I can do today to make it easier, so, yeah.
What is your biggest advice that you would give somebody else going through this?
Yeah, I mean, I listed off a million things. Like I said, I love to
Right.
talk. But the biggest thing, you know what? I would say the number one thing of all the different things of the 2.5 years of research I've done and all that, the number one thing is self-compassion, is really just being compassionate, like cutting yourself some slack, feeling, being a good friend to yourself. Not like, don't give into feelings of like guilt and perfectionism and beating yourself up and comparing yourself to your past self, like, oh well, I used to be this software engineer, I used to do this, I used to do that. Don't do that to yourself. Like, right, like, respect yourself, feel compassion for yourself, and celebrate the small wins in your days. Like, okay, today I was able to clean my sink, and my sink looks really good today, and I'm just really thankful for that. Or I was able to breathe some fresh air, or I was able to hear the birds. That this self-compassion, just be kind to yourself, really is the big thing.
Absolutely. And that was my biggest thing. And when I started talking to this counselor, she was like, you need to give yourself some grace. You were
Yeah.
too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And she said, we do mourn. We mourn our old selves,
Yeah.
the people we
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah.
And we just need to, realize that unfortunately we're not going to be that person again, or I hope someday. But at the same
Yeah.
time, let's roll with the punches and
Yeah.
figure out who we are today.
Yeah.
And that's, I
Absolutely.
think, the most important thing. Yes.
Yeah. 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 And you may not be your old self, but you can still find pieces of your old self each day. You can still find little moments where you're able to do kind of a hobby, or you're able to do, like, able to help somebody with something, or you can find aspect, because you're still, I really believe that you're still in there. Like, your true self is still in there. It's just
Right.
weighed down. It's weighed down by a disease. I mean, long COVID has only been around for about 6 years. It's a very novel condition. It's a very complicated condition. I mean, it's multi-system, multifactorial. Your body is just your body. And here's the thing, I really, and this goes along with the self-compassion piece. one time on the long COVID subreddit, I saw someone. It was just a heartbreaking thing. This person left a comment of like, "I hate myself. I hate my body," and I'm just thinking like, no, I mean, don't do that to yourself. Your body. One thing you need to remember with this condition is your body is doing the best it can. It really is. Your heart is pumping. Your lungs are going. Your body really truly is doing the best it can. It's just it's just having a hard time because of this really messed up virus. It's
Right.
you have an infection. You have now we don't is it viral persistence? Is it microclots? Is it what we don't exactly know the real story just yet. We're still doing research, but your body is fighting something, and it's doing the best it can. You need to love have compassion for your own body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Aaron, I do want to thank you for coming on and talking to us today. I know that you're getting tired. The greatest part is, and this sounds crazy, we can usually tell, and I can tell if I look at my face in a mirror,
Yeah, yeah,
that there's a difference when you start getting tired. And
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying anything bad. I can see it in your face. It's
Hmm.
changed a little bit. You're
Hmm.
starting to get tired, and I don't want to keep you in any longer. I don't want to make you crash or anything. But I do want to thank you for coming on and talking to us. At any point, if you ever want to come talk to us again, we'll be here and we'll listen, okay?
Great, great. Well, thank
I'm
you
going to
very
go
much.
ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been really really nice.
I'm going to stop this recording and then we'll continue to talk for just
Okay.
a minute.